our minds we save. Connecting IoT, it's a future we crave. Guide your earth, we rise, together we thrive. In this digital realm, our spirits arrive. Blockchain and big data, in sync we jive. For a future so bright, we take a dive. Wearable tech on our wrist, in our vision, enhancing our lives with every decision. With AI and IoT, we break the prison of outdated norms, we make the incision. Guide your earth, we build, in unity we mold. A world where tech and nature boldly unfold. With each step, a story of progress told. In the aura's embrace, our dreams we hold. Sensors and apps, a new reality. Merging the physical, breaking the duality. In this ecosystem, we find our morality. Tech for good, our global vitality. In the matrix of life, we find our place. Every culture, every race. In the aura's gentle embrace.
Okay, so, ready to take a deep dive into Aura of Intelligence. It's a lot more than just another AI system, though.
Yeah, it's like almost more of a, whole ecosystem or something. It's supposed to be woven into, all parts of our lives, they're claiming.
No, totally. We're talking about personalized care for dementia, cities designed around sustainability from the very beginning, and even, a plan for a future that's way more collaborative.
And all of it powered by AI, supposedly.
Right. It's a pretty ambitious idea when you look at the big picture. But let's focus on something a little easier to wrap our heads around for a second, like the dementia care part. They've come up with this AI called AURA. It's really something.
Oh, yeah. What's so special about it?
Well, imagine, personalized digital memoirs, made specifically to help people with dementia connect back with their favorite memories.
Oh, wow. So how does it actually work, though? That sounds like a really tough thing for AI to do.
Well, that's the cool part. AURA uses multimedia to do it. It taps into how much emotion is tied up in memories. Think about it, you hear a song you love, or see a picture of your family, or even just hear a recording of your grandkids laughing.
Yeah.
And suddenly these memories and emotions come rushing back in a way that nothing else can really do.
Right. It's totally different when it's something that personal.
Yeah, exactly. It's powerful stuff. And that's what ARA is going for, giving people a way to reconnect with their own past right when they need it most.
Wow, that's really amazing if it works the way they're saying. Switching gears completely, though, they're also trying to use this same aura of intelligence to, get this, create entire cities that are completely self-sufficient and sustainable.
Wait, really? I read a little about that, but honestly, it just seemed kind of out there. How could they even pull that off?
Right. Well, they're using North Stradbroke Island as their, testing ground.
Okay. Interesting choice.
Right there. I know, right. But, get this. The whole point is that they're trying to use AI to take all the island's natural resources. Stuff like the sand, which has tons of minerals in it, the ocean water, even just plant life, and turn them into the stuff they need to build a whole community from scratch.
Hold on. I'm having trouble picturing that. How do you even start to turn sand and plants into, a functioning city?
Well, for example, did you know sand has a lot of silica in it?
No.
Apparently they could use that to manufacture solar cells.
Really? Wow, I had no idea.
Right. And that's just one thing. They can also extract titanium from the sand to use for construction.
Oh.
And even some rare earth elements, which are, crucial for making all kinds of advanced tech. And the best part is, it'll all come straight from the island.
So are they trying to create a completely closed loop, a totally self-sustaining system?
Yeah.
Where tech and nature are working with each other instead of against each other?
That is ambitious, but it's still just an idea, right? Or are they actually trying to build something?
No, they're serious. They're talking about it like it's a real plan. Here's the roadmap. We can totally make a totally sustainable future happen, and AI is going to be what gets us there. So we've gone from AI that can help dementia patients to what? AI that's going to build the eco-cities of the future. And it doesn't even stop there. I mean, they're talking about using AI to, bring the whole world together and achieve joyful, responsible abundance. Have you heard about that part?
Oh, yeah. Through JJ Earth, right?
Yes. It's a lot to unpack, but it's such a fascinating idea. So what do you make of JJ Earth?
Well, what really gets me about it is that they're saying they're going to use technology to get rid of the things that divide people and cultures. They want to use it to bring about global unity instead.
And how are they planning to do that? By throwing a worldwide music and arts festival in 2025. They're calling it Live Aid 2.0.
That's such a cool idea, right? But there's more to it than just that. They want to have a global vote on, what are the most important values for humanity. And guess what's powering the vote?
Hey.
AI.
Of course.
They're calling it gamified democracy, which I think is so clever. It's a totally new way to try to get people all over the world involved in, like, actually shaping their future together.
It's wild. It's like they looked at the way we vote now and said, nope, we can do way better.
Yeah, it's a pretty bold experiment, that's for sure. I mean, most of us are used to just, like, voting every few years and that's it. But imagine if people were constantly thinking about what values should be guiding, the whole world and actually having a say in it.
It's like instead of just asking people their opinion every once in a while, they want to find a way to constantly keep track of what humanity is thinking and use tech to make sure everyone's voice can be heard. And speaking of tech, we should probably talk about the guy behind all of this, right? Luke Nathan Hayes. Have you looked into him at all?
Oh, absolutely. It's really something. You can tell he's got this deep understanding of human nature, but he also gets all this cutting edge tech stuff. And that combo is how he's able to connect all these different ideas. I don't think most people would see how dementia care and sustainable cities could ever be related, but he does. He sees how tech can actually help us be more human, if that makes sense.
Totally. It's like he's not just trying to build cool gadgets. He's actually trying to solve real problems that people are facing, which is probably why he's not afraid to go all in on some pretty futuristic stuff. Did you read about how he wants to use augmented reality to let people see each other's auras?
Yeah. And then there's a whole thing about creating a digital twin for everyone. That part's kind of next level.
Okay, so how would that even work exactly? Are we talking some kind of mood ring thing, but way more advanced?
Kind of. So they want to take all kinds of data about you, like your biometrics, how you interact with other people, even stuff about what you do online. And then all that gets translated into something visual. And that's your aura.
Okay, I think I'm starting to get it. So it's like a visual representation of who you are as a person.
Exactly. And it's not just a one-time thing either. It would constantly be changing and evolving as you change and evolve. And that's where the digital twins come in. It's basically taking that idea of a visual aura and making it like a whole digital copy of you that's constantly learning and growing right along with the real you.
Okay, so it's not just a snapshot in time. It's more like you have this digital shadow that's always changing with you. That's kind of freaky when you think about it.
I know, right? But also kind of amazing when you think of what you could do with it. Imagine if caregivers could use a dementia patient's digital twin to get a better idea of what they're going through, what their memories are like, how their behavior is being affected. It could completely change how we care for people.
And don't even get me started on the possibilities for global communication. It would be having a universal translator, but for everything. You could understand someone's culture, their values, everything just by interacting with their digital twin.
Right. It could break down so many barriers between people, which is a perfect example of what JJR Earth is trying to do with their mixed reality games. Remember those?
Oh, yeah. They're trying to use those to encourage people to actually do good stuff in the real world. It's
cool.
Remember Pokemon Go?
Who doesn't?
It's like that, but instead of catching Pokemon, you get rewarded for doing things that make your community better or that help the environment or whatever. It's they gamified doing good deeds.
Yeah, exactly. It's why just keep all the fun in a video game world? Why not bring it out into the real world and make a difference while you're at it? And it's all connected. This is the whole point of what Luke Nathan Hayes is trying to do with Aura of Intelligence. It's not just about any one of these technologies by themselves. It's about combining all of them into this web of systems that are all working together so that everything we do, from the way we live in cities to how we interact with each other, becomes more sustainable and meaningful.
It's definitely an ambitious vision, seriously big. But obviously something this big has to come with some pretty big challenges too, right? I mean, this would be a huge shift in how we think about technology, how we interact with each other, how we understand ourselves. It's a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's really important to remember right from the beginning that technology is just a tool. And like any tool, it can be used for good things, but it can be used for bad things too. One of the biggest challenges with all of this is going to be making sure that this aura of intelligence, as cool as it sounds, is developed ethically, with a focus on making life better for everyone, not just a select few.
So we need to make sure that the technology itself is built responsibly and ethically. But then we also need to make sure that once it's out there, people are using it for good.
Exactly. And that means we can't be afraid to have tough conversations. We got to be willing to ask those uncomfortable questions and really challenge each other's assumptions. Like, who gets to decide what values get programmed into these AI systems? How do we protect people's privacy and their data when their digital twin is constantly collecting new information? We're talking about stuff that has never been done before, and there's no instruction manual for this.
It's definitely going to be a balancing act. We need to embrace the amazing things that technology can do, but we can't forget to stay aware of the risks that come with it. I got to be honest, though, all of this is super fascinating. Where do we even go from here? I mean, is any of this even possible yet? Are we just talking about some far-off future, or is this something that could actually happen soon?
Well, that's the exciting thing. This isn't just some sci-fi dream anymore. A lot of the pieces of this vision are already starting to become real. Like, we already have AI assistants that are getting more and more personalized all the time. Sustainable technology is booming right now, and people all over the world are really starting to see the value in working together. All the building blocks for this aura are already starting to fall into place.
So we're not just imagining what the future could be like, we're actually watching it unfold right in front of us.
Exactly. And nobody knows for sure how it's all going to play out. But that's kind of the point, isn't it? The future isn't something that just happens to us. It's something we make happen through the choices we make and how willing we are to embrace new possibilities.
It's like we all have an invitation to help shape the future, not just sit back and watch it go by.
I love that.
Yeah.
And there's so many ways to be a part of it. We can have those tough conversations about the ethics of all this new technology.
Yeah.
We can support organizations that are working to create a world that's more sustainable and fair for everyone.
It all starts with remembering that we're not just mindless consumers of technology. We can be active creators, too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's a really important thing to remember. But hey, before we get too ahead of ourselves, let's bring things back down to earth for a minute, shall we? I know we've been talking about big, abstract ideas like sustainable cities and changing the world, but this aura of intelligence thing, it also applies to stuff that's a little closer to home. Like, you'll never believe this, but they're trying to revolutionize food.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How so? What are they up to?
This is where it gets good. So they've got this idea for something called an in-home AI auto farm. They think it's going to totally change how we think about food and where it comes from.
Okay, you've definitely got my attention now. I have to admit, the idea of having my own little automated farm right in my kitchen is pretty awesome. But how would that even work? Is that even possible?
That's what I thought at first. But it's actually a really cool concept. Picture this. You have this self-contained system tucked away in your kitchen. Maybe it's built into your cabinets or maybe it's freestanding. But either way, it's got all these sensors and AI working together to perfectly grow whatever you want, from fruits and veggies to herbs all year round.
So it's like having a little robot gardener that's always taking care of every culinary need.
Exactly. But
yeah.
Way better than any human gardener, because it uses all these fancy algorithms to make sure that everything's growing perfectly, from the light and the temperature to the nutrients in the water.
Okay, that sounds incredible and way more convenient than going to the grocery store.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't know, what about the energy it would take to power a whole mini farm in my kitchen? Seems like my electricity bill would be through the roof.
Right, that's a good point, and something I'm sure a lot of people would be worried about. But apparently they've thought of that. They're using energy-efficient LED grow lights and smart irrigation systems that barely use any water. They're even designing it so you can power the whole thing with renewable energy sources if you want, like solar panels.
Wow, so not only would I get fresh organic food whenever I want, but I could potentially do it without harming the environment.
Right. Almost too good to be true. Of course, it's still a new technology, so I'm sure there are things they need to figure out. But just think of what it could mean if they can make it work. We could literally change the world with this. Imagine if everyone had access to fresh, locally grown food, no matter where they lived or how much money they make.
It would be a game changer. We could drastically reduce how much we rely on industrial agriculture, which is a huge polluter and uses all those nasty pesticides. Okay. I have to admit, you've convinced me. I'm totally on board with the idea. But I have one more question. What kind of food are we talking about here? Can I grow anything in this magic AI farm, or are there limitations?
That's the best part. You really can grow a huge variety of things. Fruits, veggies, herbs, even stuff like medicinal plants. Think about it. You could literally walk into your kitchen, pick a salad straight from your AI garden, and eat it right then and there. Or brew a cup of tea with fresh mint you just picked.
That's like having a farmer's market right in your house. Sign me up. Although, I'm not going to lie, I don't exactly have the greenest thumb. Is this one of those things where I need to be super knowledgeable about plants to make it work?
See, that's the other amazing part. This system is designed to be super low maintenance. Once you tell the AI what you want to grow and what your preferences are, it basically does everything for you. It's constantly monitoring and adjusting the growing conditions to make sure everything is perfect.
So basically, I just have to sit back, relax, and enjoy the, well, fruits of its labor.
Yep. And even if something does go wrong, it's designed to send you an alert on your phone so you can fix it quickly. Yeah. No more accidentally killing your basil plants.
Okay, you've totally sold me. That sounds amazing. But we've got to switch gears for a second and talk about another part of Aura of Intelligence that really blew my mind. The Space Weather Hub. What have you heard about this?
Oh, man, yeah. It's crazy how this Aura thing goes way beyond our little planet and straight into, like, outer space. This is a great example of how AI can help us do more than just understand things that are happening in space. It can actually help protect us from them.
Okay, now I'm a little intimidated. Space weather, what is that? It sounds like something out of Star Trek.
I know, right? It sounds like science fiction, but it's a real thing. And it can have a huge impact on Earth and all the technology we use. Think solar flares, coronal mass ejections, all that crazy stuff that happens on the sun. It can totally mess with our satellites, our communication systems, even cause blackouts.
Wow. Okay,
Right.
now I get why we'd need something called a space weather hub. But what can AI actually do about it? Is it like predicting the future of space or something?
Basically, that's exactly what they're trying to do. The Space Weather Hub uses AI to analyze data from tons of satellites and observatories all over the world. They're looking for patterns, and anything out of the ordinary that might mean something bad is about to happen. It's like having a super advanced weather forecasting system, but for space instead of Earth.
Okay, that's amazing. So instead of warning us about rain or snowstorms, this thing warns us about solar storms and radiation bursts. That is so cool.
I know. And those early warnings can make all the difference. Once we know something's coming and we know where and when it's going to hit, we can start taking steps to protect our stuff, like shutting down power grids for a little while or rerouting planes so they don't get fried.
So we're not just observing space weather anymore. We're trying to learn how to protect ourselves from it, too. But I'm still not sure how it applies to me, you know? It still seems kind of big picture and abstract. What does the Space Weather Hub do for the average person who doesn't spend their days thinking about solar flares?
Well, think about it this way. Every day, all of us rely on technology more and more, right? Our phones, the internet, GPS, all of that can be affected by what's happening in space. The Space Weather Hub helps prevent those things from getting disrupted and messing up our lives. It can help prevent dropped calls, keep essential services running smoothly. It touches pretty much every part of our lives, whether we realize it or not.
So basically, they're trying to use AI to create this giant safety net for our entire technological infrastructure, which is only getting more and more complicated as time goes on. I'm starting to realize that Luke Nathan Hayes has literally thought of everything. I mean, we've talked about personalized dementia care, eco-cities, global unity, AI-powered farms, and now a space weather defense system. What's next? Is there anything this aura of intelligence can't do?
Let's not get ahead of ourselves. This is still a really new frontier, and we're just starting to scratch the surface of what's possible. I'm sure there will be challenges and unexpected consequences as we go.
That's a good point. It's easy to get caught up in all the cool possibilities, but we can't forget that with every new invention, there are always trade-offs.
Exactly. And we can't lose sight of the fact that ultimately it's up to us, all of us, to decide how we're going to navigate all this new stuff. We have to be responsible and make sure that technology is used to make the world a better place, not the other way around.
So it's not just about inventing new technology. It's about making sure we're inventing it for the right reasons. I like that. But I'm curious, what's next for Aura of Intelligence? Is it something that's already being built, or is it still just an idea at this point?
Well, that's what's so exciting about all this. Like I was saying earlier, parts of this vision are already becoming a reality.
It really feels like we're in the middle of this massive shift, and it's changing everything about how we interact with technology and with each other.
Exactly. And there's no way to know exactly what the future holds. But what's important is that we remember that we're not just along for the ride. We all have the power to shape what the future will be.
Yeah, it's about choosing to participate instead of just watching it happen.
And that participation can look like so many different things. We can talk to each other about what we think about all this new technology. We can support the people who are trying to build a better world.
It all starts with remembering that each of us has the power to make a difference. But before we wrap things up, there's one last piece of Aura of Intelligence that I wanted to touch on. Education. It's something I'm really passionate about.
Oh, Education. It's funny you should mention that because a lot of people are saying that education is going to be super important as we enter this new era of aura of intelligence.
Well, they say knowledge is power, right? So if we're going to navigate all these rapid changes happening all around us, it makes sense that we need to arm ourselves with knowledge first. But how? Are we talking about traditional education, or is there something new in the works?
From what I've read, Aura of Intelligence wants to create a whole new approach to education. One that's personalized for each student, accessible to everyone no matter who they are or where they come from, and actually engaging and fun. They want to use technology so that every single person on the planet has the opportunity to learn from the best teachers, work with other students all over the world, and learn at their own pace.
So it's like taking the best parts of education and making them available to everyone.
Exactly. But it goes deeper than just access to information. It's about teaching people how to think critically, how to use digital technology effectively and safely, and how to be a good global citizen in a world that's more connected than ever. It's about giving people the tools they need to be successful in the 21st century.
So we're not just teaching people what to think anymore, we're teaching them how to think for themselves.
Yes. And that right there is the heart of what Aura of Intelligence is all about. It's not really about the tech itself, but what we choose to do with it. It's about using this incredible technology to transform ourselves and the world around us for the better. It really is. And you know, it's amazing. We've barely even scratched the surface of what Aura of Intelligence is supposed to be. We've talked about all these different aspects of it, but what's really powerful is how they all fit together. It's not just like a bunch of random tech ideas. It's actually this whole vision for the future where technology helps us live healthier, be more sustainable, and even find more meaning in life.
It's like taking all these different ideas from all these different fields, healthcare, city planning, the environment, education, even space, and weaving them together into something that can benefit everybody.
Exactly. And at the core of all of it is this idea. Technology is just a tool. And like any tool, it can be used for good or for bad.
It's a good reminder that all of this amazing technology we're talking about, it's not inherently good or bad on its own. It's how we choose to use it that matters.
Exactly. And it's our responsibility to make sure it's used for good, you know? And that starts with being aware of what's going on, with having honest conversations about both the good and the bad that could come from all this new technology. We can't be afraid to ask tough questions and really challenge each other to think critically about all this.
So we shouldn't just accept every new piece of technology without question, right? We have to be willing to look at it from all sides and think about the potential consequences.
Exactly. And we have to remember that technology is never neutral. It's always going to reflect the values and the biases of the people who created it.
So it's not just about what we create, but why we create it and who benefits from it in the end. That's a really important point.
For sure. And I think Aura of Intelligence gives us this really amazing opportunity to rethink how we see technology altogether. What if, instead of just thinking about what it can do for us practically, we also thought about how it could help us be more connected, more creative, more in tune with ourselves and the world.
It's about using technology to enhance our humanity, not replace it. I really love that.
Right. And that's something we have to keep working at. It's a journey. And to do it right, we need to keep asking questions, keep learning, and keep being open to new possibilities.
That's a great point to end on, actually. So to wrap up our deep dive into Aura of Intelligence, what's the one thing you hope our listeners will take away from all of this?
You know, if there's one thing I could say to everyone listening, it would be this. Don't be afraid to dream big. The future is not set in stone. What we choose to do today, our choices, our actions, even just our willingness to listen to new ideas, that's what's going to determine what the future looks like. Aura of Intelligence might sound like a far-off fantasy right now, but it's already starting to happen. And it's up to all of us to make sure it becomes the best possible version of itself, something that benefits everyone.
I couldn't have said it better myself. It's time for us to sign off, but remember, the conversation doesn't end here. Keep those questions coming, keep that curiosity alive, and never stop imagining the world you want to live in. We'll be back soon with another deep dive, but until then, stay curious, everyone. Buckle up, everybody, because today's deep dive, well, let's just say it's not your average stroll through the park. We're talking AI, XR, global unity, the works.
And it's not just talk, right? We've got documents, actual plans to unpack here. And honestly, the scope of this vision is, well, it's a bit mind-blowing. We're not talking about small tweaks. This is like reshaping how civilization does Well, everything. Sustainability, how we govern ourselves, even spirituality.
And the group, or the initiative, I guess, at the heart of it all, GAJR Earth. I gotta be honest, when I first saw that name, I was picturing like a Coachella for tech gurus. You know what I mean?
Right, catchy name, definitely. GAJR Earth, it stands for Global Association for Joyful, Responsible Abundance on Earth.
Okay, yeah, rolls off the tongue a bit better than let's all just get along and eat pizza. So get down to it. What's the big idea? What are they actually, trying to do?
So they're talking about a future where essentially technology empowers us to live not just sustainably, but like really fulfilling lives.
Mm-hmm.
And the key to all this, something called aura of intelligence, which honestly I'm super curious to dig into.
Aura of intelligence, huh? That sounds like something out of like William Gibson novel or something. So what is it? Some supercomputer that's like hooked directly into our brains?
They describe it as a wearable XR system. But reading through these documents, it's clear they're envisioning something a lot more, well, integrated than just your typical gadget. Imagine a device that it doesn't just augment your reality, it interacts with your values, your beliefs, even your emotions in real time.
Wow. So we're not talking about like Google Maps for your feelings here.
And it gets even, bolder.
Yeah.
They suggest this aura technology could actually interact with your chakra system.
Okay, now that's interesting. So we're not just talking about augmented reality here. We're talking about augmented humanity, right?
Exactly. And this whole concept of a deeper, more personalized connection with technology, it's central to their plan for, get this, a global vote on a shared set of values for humanity.
Whoa, hold on. A global vote? How are they going to pull that off? I mean, have they met humans? We can't even agree on what to have for dinner, let alone like universal values?
It's ambitious, for sure. Their idea is to use something called gamified democracy.
Gamified democracy. Okay, now I'm really intrigued.
Basically, a blockchain-powered platform to make civic engagement more interactive, more transparent, and honestly, maybe even a little bit fun.
So less filling out forms, more like leveling up your civic duty. Okay, I like where this is going.
Right. They're light on specifics, but they suggest a system that encourages thoughtful participation and rewards users for actual constructive dialogue. Imagine a global debate platform where the better your argument, the more points you get. Points you can then use to, amplify your vote on actual issues. It's wild.
Okay, so less shouting into the void, more like reasoned discourse with actual stakes. I'm into it. But before we get too far down this rabbit hole, let's back up for a second. A shared set of values for all of humanity. That just seems, impossible. Like herding cats while riding a unicycle? Impossible.
It's a tall order, no doubt. But instead of some top-down decree, they're suggesting a revitalized, are you ready for this, Live Aid concert in 2025 as a jumping off point for global conversation.
Wait, Live Aid 2025, they're bringing back the iconic concert, but for the 21st century.
More than a concert, they're talking about a multi-day global festival. Imagine events in major cities all over the world, all digitally connected through this aura technology. It's ambitious, right? Using music, art to get people talking about what truly matters.
So day 1, rock out. Day 2, deep conversations about humanity. Day 3, surprise global vote on shared values. It's certainly one way to do it.
And this Live Aid 2025 thing, it's more than a rally for global unity. It's the platform for unveiling their vision of, a completely transformed world.
Okay, so we've got a global initiative, a wild new tech interface, a plan to reboot Live Aid. But there's one thing I'm still stuck on. What's the deal with North Stradbroke Island? What's an island off the coast of Australia got to do with, any of this?
So North Stradbroke Island, it turns out, holds a pretty significant key to this whole thing. Their sand. It's special, loaded with minerals, quartz, ilmenite, rutile, zircon, all the good stuff. Basically the building blocks for a ton of advanced technology.
So we're not talking about just building sandcastles here. Are they saying this island could be a model for self-sufficiency using tech built literally from the ground up?
That's the idea.
Yeah.
And they suggest this whole model, it's not just a one-off. They think it could be scaled up to show how we can do responsible resource management alongside, not instead of, cutting-edge tech.
So a future where we're not just consuming technology, but actually shaping it, building it into, everything. I don't know about you, but I'm definitely going to need a minute to process all of this.
Yeah, and we've only just scratched the surface.
For all this talk about tech and global change, it's interesting. They seem really focused on the whole human connection thing too, right? Collaboration, community, all that.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, they've got this whole concept, aura fans.
Oh, right, aura fans. For a second there, I thought we were talking about like a fan club, for people obsessed with this whole aura of intelligence thing.
It's a little, I don't know, ambiguous, but from what I gather, it's more like an exclusive experimental branch of the project.
Yeah.
They mentioned aura fans in the context of like exploring deeper human connection, even get this sensuality, but in a digital space.
Okay, so like a VIP section of the future where people can, I don't know, connect on a whole other level. I'm not sure I'm ready to unpack that one just yet. A little out there, even for this deep dive. But we were talking about North Stradbroke Island before, right? This place where they're, building the future out of sand?
It's like a real-world prototype for this JJRA Earth vision. Yeah. And they're not just like parachuting in with the latest gadgetry either.
No.
They want to integrate like ancient indigenous Australian knowledge, their understanding of the land, sustainable practices, all of that, and blend it with the cutting-edge tech, old and new, all mixed together.
So less about replacing the old with the new and more about like weaving it all together, respecting the past. I like that.
Exactly. It speaks to their whole philosophy, this idea of protopia.
Protopia. Okay, now you're just making up words.
Yeah. It's a real thing. Think of it like, okay, utopia, right? But instead of some perfect end goal, it's about the journey, the constant striving for improvement, knowing that there's always going to be more to learn, new challenges, all that.
So less about the destination, more about, making sure we're on the right road and enjoying the ride.
Exactly. And that whole idea of constant learning and evolving, it's built into this aura of intelligence system, apparently. It's not just about like reflecting your values now in this moment, but it's supposed to help you grow, evolve over time. Like imagine personalized prompts for reflection, helping you challenge your own biases,
Okay, so less mindless scrolling, more like mindful self-improvement, all powered by your, what do they call it, aura.
Right. And they seem to think this is like key to having any kind of meaningful global dialogue. If we can all be a bit more self-aware, a bit more open to different perspectives, maybe, just maybe, we can start to bridge some of these divides that, let's be honest, seem pretty entrenched these days.
Yeah, no argument there. But it does require a certain amount of, trust, doesn't it? Trust that this technology, this aura thing, it's being used for good. I mean, we've all seen Black Mirror, right?
Right. The potential for misuse is definitely, something to be cautious about. But these documents, they do talk about ethical guidelines, safeguards built into the tech, even a decentralized governance model to keep things transparent and prevent abuse. So they're at least aware of the risks.
So it's not just about building the technology, but building the right kind of world around it, a world where it can do more good than harm.
Exactly. It all comes back to community, collaboration, to this idea that, we're all in this together, and technology, it can either get us closer together or,
drive us further apart. And that brings us back to, was it Luke Catalyst Nathan Hayes? The guy behind all this? What's he all about? Tech guru, spiritual leader, a bit of both.
See, that's the thing. He's hard to pin down. But these documents, they definitely paint a picture of someone who, to him, there's no separation between tech and spirituality. Like they're two sides of the same coin. Innovation should be driven by a sense of purpose, a desire to, make things better for everyone.
And he's not in this alone, right? We keep coming back to this idea of community, different voices, all that. Who else is he working with to make this whole thing happen?
It's a real mixed bag, actually.
Yeah.
You've got your tech wizards, of course, but also artists, musicians, people from local communities, even indigenous elders. Pretty diverse group of people, all united by this vision of the future.
It's like they're putting together, a super group, but for changing the world, not just making music. That's got to be powerful, having all those different perspectives.
Totally. It shows how ambitious this whole thing is.
Yeah.
This isn't just about like launching a new gadget or, creating a successful company. This is about a global movement, a fundamental shift in how we see the world, how we interact with technology, how we, even just exist as a species. It's huge.
All fueled by sand, no less.
And a killer soundtrack, don't forget that. Live Aid 2025 is still on the horizon. It's shaping up to be way more than just a concert, like a launch pad for a whole new era.
So we've covered a lot of ground here. Sand, AI, global unity, even, what were they called again? Aura fans?
Don't forget the music. A bit of rock and roll to save the world, why not?
Right. But I gotta say, the more we dig into this whole vision of the future, the more one question keeps popping up for me. How do you square this idea of global unity, everyone on the same page, with the fact that, people are different? What about all the different cultures, values, beliefs? Are we all just supposed to, download the same update and call it a day?
It's the big question, isn't it? And yeah, no easy answers. But they do touch on this whole idea of protopian thinking, remember?
Right. Always striving, always evolving, all that jazz.
Exactly. So instead of aiming for some perfect, end state utopia, it's about the journey, the constant striving to create a world that works for everyone, even as we change and grow.
Okay, I see where you're going with this. So less about imposing some kind of one-size-fits-all solution, more about making sure everyone has a seat at the table, a chance to, help shape the future.
Exactly. And that's why I think this whole idea of incorporating different perspectives, like we were talking about with the Indigenous Australian community, is so important. It can't just be about the shiniest new tech. It has to be about using that tech in a way that's actually, humane, ethical.
Technology that enhances our humanity, not replaces it.
Exactly. And that's not going to be easy, right? There will be missteps, disagreements, tough choices to be made. But these documents, they at least acknowledge that. Progress isn't always a straight line,
Yeah, no kidding. So if we're being honest, this aura of intelligence thing, it's more than just about, making us smarter or more efficient or whatever. It's about making us, wiser, more compassionate.
Right, like augmenting our humanity, not just our capabilities.
Yeah.
And that means facing some hard truths about ourselves, about the world we're creating.
So here we are standing on the edge of this totally new era, and the big question is, what role are we going to play in shaping it?
Right. Are we going to approach it with curiosity, with courage, with a willingness to, embrace the unknown and work together? Or are we just going to let fear and division win the day? It's really up to us, isn't it?
Yeah. That's something for all of us to think about, dear listener. What do you think about this vision of the future? What kind of world do you want to be a part of? And what can you do right now, today, to help make that happen? Until next time, keep asking those big questions and keep diving deep.